Kazakhstan? Why is Kazakhstan the right geological setting for what you're looking for?
Again, big country, so hard to make comments across the entire country. But we've focused in the northeastern part of the country in Pavlodar on a well sort of documented mineral belt that actually starts out east. Mongolia, and that in fact Oyu Tolgoi, for example, one of the big copper gold mines that is operating today is on that same belt. What I think differentiates and has created the opportunity in Kazakhstan is with the fall of the Soviet Union, in 1990, up until, call it 2018, as I referred to before, there really wasn't a lot of modern exploration that occurred in Kazakhstan. There was obviously lots of operating mines that have operated for decades in many cases. But with the transition from the Soviet Union into these independent countries, there was a transition, and in many cases, and in most cases, I think across a lot of the economies in that part of the world, it was really about businesses that generated cash flow, whether it be in mining or elsewhere. And so the whole premise of investing in exploration was a cost center and not really a priority in many cases. And that was something that I think President Tokayev had identified. And in fact, you see that in his national addresses, that there hadn't been really much for major discoveries in the mineral space for decades. And so that was really the catalyst to make the changes, to look at what worked around the world, effectively copy things like the Western Australian Mining Code. And so for us, when we had that as really the foundational piece, an area that you knew was productive because you had operating mines. You have one of the lowest cost copper mines in the world at Boshakal on this belt. And at a time when all of a sudden you've got the new sort of legislation that now allows you to come in and not necessarily have to sit down and try and negotiate a contract with the government or with potentially a party that's been sitting on it for 20 years and not really doing anything. But we've got now the ability where these licenses become available and you can come and stake them. It's a much fairer platform to start from. And so it's a little bit of the right place at the right time, I think. We've obviously seen every year now more and more interest from Western companies. A lot of the majors are now in the country, largely looking for base metals, critical minerals. And so for us, the geologic overprint, where you've got a productive belt, you've got really a lack of exploration that's been done over the last 25 to 30 years, and you've got a foundational piece, and from a perspective of legislation and policy that you can work within, that's transparent, that's clear, and a government partner that's like your biggest sort of cheerleader. It made a lot of sense. And, so far, in the time that we've been there now over 4 years, as an early mover, it's just got better, really. So we're super happy there. And I think, the geology is there. We're really getting our head around it. And this year is going to be a big year for us for sure.
Okay, so we still have a couple of minutes. I understand you guys like where you operate in. You gotta have to be out there and promote the jurisdiction. I understand that part as well. Nothing's ever perfect though. So what are kind of the biggest risks or challenges of operating where you guys are operating? We'll just go kind of one by one as we went before. Darren, you can continue on. So Darren, Carl, and then we'll do Andy, Rano, you guys, and then we'll go to Quebec. Darren, again, you're up first. What is risks and challenges in Kazakhstan? Talk to me about that.
Well, the geology at the end of the day, I mean, what did Mother Nature put there? You and I both don't know that. It's our job now to try and find it. And I think, we're getting there. Every hole, every, piece of data helps us in that regard. We don't have a lot to go on because, in that part of the world there's not rocks that stick out of the ground. You're dealing with 5 to 30 meters of cover. And so you're having to deal with, geophysics and soils, and then start to drill and then, see what's underneath there. So you're not getting much of a head start. I think from a perspective for other groups looking in, I think a lot of these sort of jurisdictions are the same. We've had a great experience, but I mean, one of our, I think, competitive advantages is, Tim Berry, our CEO and my partner in this, is based in Almaty, right? Most of our team is in Kazakhstan. And so our ability to move quickly, our ability to understand, there is bureaucracy there. There's no doubt about it. And the bureaucracy and the requirements for filing, mineral reports, for example, are different than what they'd be anywhere else. And so having a strong team on the ground, which we're fortunate to have, all largely Kazakhs, and it's been great. I mean, we've got such a great team to help us with that makes a big difference. So I think trying to manage that sort of thing, remote control from Toronto or Sydney or London would be a harder ask. And so that's definitely a competitive advantage for us as well. And I think the reason we've been able to kind of get in and move as quick as we have and developed a really strong reputation, with our government partners for getting on with things and advancing our license package for sure.